Do your best. Let's go. Lions on 3. 1, 2, 3. Lions.
Oh my God! Victory Sunday.
The Giants look at their schedule and they go, "Oh, the Detroit Lions," and they put the big W, right?
Correct.
It's folks. It's everybody that is on the screen right now that is what makes this special, because this organization has been so bad for so long. Yet here we all are on a Sunday night at 7 o'clock, chopping it up about this football team, because winning 3 in a row and getting this done for the first time since 2017, and like Mark said, having some momentum for this fan base.
When we played against the Patriots one game on Thanksgiving, I had a pretty good game too, and it was just the atmosphere is just different. It's just there's just everybody's ready. You get a chance to wear the throwback uniforms. It was just fun.
I think it's a mixture of both. I think you got to have a good program, but I think the city, the way it's viewed nationally, like the people in Detroit, the business people, the money makers, the marketers, they got to market Detroit different nationally.
And welcome to the Detroit Lions News Show. Or should I say, welcome to the Baltimore molly-whopping ass show, because we're going to talk about this crap we just saw on Sunday in Baltimore. We have a very, 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 very special guest. He's a former Lion. He played with the Lions, and he also is with the NFLPA. Mark Schmidt, how the hell are you doing today?
Thanks, Coach. Really appreciate it. Doing pretty well. Thank you. So, yeah, no, good to be here with you.
Perfect. And also we have Curtis, the real deal Steele, today. How are you doing, bud?
What up, dude? Hey, Kurt Steele hanging out with you guys, man. Appreciate you guys having me on with my other Lions podcasters, man. Thanks, Darcy, for having me on.
And we have the spirit of Detroit, Avery Giovanni. Make sure you give him a follow. Spirit of Detroit. This guy, I swear, he should be a GM in the league. He knows his stuff. And also, we have Joseph P. Chop. How you doing there, bud?
Hey, it's good to talk to you guys again. This is we're under difficult circumstances, but we'll navigate through it.
Absolutely.
And we have Bandit Sports entrepreneur Neil Green. How's it going, bud?
What up, dog? Y'all, what's up?
Yeah. Kurt, what do you got going on there?
Sunday was definitely that was definitely a heat check, and the Lions came out and just were flat. If you look at what transpired during that game, it just didn't look good. It was a really bad showing by the team. I think it was a poorly coached game, and they just tried some things that they did with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They got away with it, but they didn't get away with it in Baltimore. But you take your lumps and you learn. If you thought the Lions were going to go 16-1, you were absolutely bananas. But it was something that I think that was needed, the kick in the pants. I think it was that refocus game. So, we'll see. Avi, what did you think? I want to hear your take. What did you think happened in Baltimore? Oh, you can't hear you. You muted. Okay, there you go.
That happens all the time to me, even at work. That happens all the time. I think it was a combination of things, man. I think it was, the Detroit Lions always try to come out strong and always try to dominate their opponent. And I felt like in domination, they were a little underclassed against this opponent, right? And I think there's tiers in the playoffs. There's a playoff Super Bowl caliber team, and that's what we've seen come out. And we have a playoff team that is probably going to win a division, but they can't hang with a certain echelon of teams. And Baltimore is consistently proving that they're in that echelon of teams. And I think that we've seen that we were kind of like overmatched in that sense. And credit to Baltimore, the defense obviously ranks at the top. Roquan Smith got those guys working. Hamilton being a joker, they can go man up against anybody. But the element that surprised the world, not myself, but surprised the world, was the ability to carve up Lamar Jackson, his ability to carve up and pinpoint passing. I've always been a strong proponent of Lamar Jackson, his passing ability. I always thought he could do it, and he did it against Detroit, unfortunately. So that's what happened.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Neil, what did you see in the game, man? Like watching it, like what was your feelings watching that game on Sunday? Oh,
Mike,
You're muted.
I felt like we got beat in all three phases: offense, defense, and special teams. I felt like our running game wasn't opening up, so therefore Jared Goff didn't have his best day. We dropped a lot of balls on offense. Our corners couldn't cover anybody, and we couldn't stop the run. So things that I didn't expect happened. So that's what caught my eye in the game.
all right, man. Welcome to the show, my man. Walt Stringer of Lions Avenue. What's going on, Walt?
How y'all brothers doing, man? Happy to be here. Not under these circumstances, but I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, man. Thanks for going on. I asked everyone, what were your thoughts on the game on Sunday? Watching the game, feeling about how
For me, it was disappointing. Is that echo on me? Can you guys hear me good?
yeah,
No.
Okay.
You're good.
Yeah, it was disappointing. I think regardless of what we thought overall of the Baltimore Ravens heading into that game, they're still the Baltimore Ravens. They're still a well-coached football team. They're still a talented football team. They're a disciplined football team with a history of winning. So I thought it was important that fans didn't take that for granted. I didn't think that was possible. Well, I'm not going to say I didn't think it was possible, but losing that way, getting demolished that way was very, very far from my mind. I thought it would be a close loss if it did turn into a loss. Now, what was strange about it was the fact that, like I said, we hadn't had that type of loss, that type of demolishing since the Carolina game, and we were hot heading into that Carolina game. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how this team responds to it. Now, not being able to do anything offensively, defensively, just being rendered inept was scary for me. Regardless of how many passing yards Jared Goff had, regardless of how many catches Amon-Ra St. Brown had, during the actually meat and potatoes of the game, where the game was still kind of in contention, the offense wasn't able to do jack. And most of those catches and yards came late third quarter, fourth quarter, once the game was already out of hand and Baltimore backed off. So, like I said, being dominated in the time of possession, Lamar Jackson being as efficient as he was, not necessarily running the ball all over the field, but being able to buy time, improvise, and find guys open. And another number that was really glaring to me was the fact that aside from Jared Goff averaging 5.2 yards per attempt, Lamar was at 13.2 yards per attempt, which is bananas. You don't really see that in an NFL game. Usually NFL offenses aren't able to take advantage of NFL defenses that way. So 13.2 yards per attempt, I thought was a testament to the fact that the defense wasn't able to get pressure and the zone. Like there were just too many guys open, too close to the line of scrimmage, mid-level of the defense. So, yeah, to me it was just a clear and glaring wake-up call. I felt there were some things that we can learn from that game, some things that need to be fixed, some things that kind of got rubbed over with some deodorant, because when you're winning and you're winning in dominant fashion against some teams, you get kind of the big head and you think that's going to work against everybody else. But I felt that the Baltimore Ravens were definitely a step up in competition, regardless of what their record showed. And they showed us that there is levels to this.
Right. Mark, now as a former player, have you experienced that a blowout like that, when you were playing for the Lions?
Yeah, no, you go through it, and of course, yeah. When I was there, yeah, and you got to regroup. I think that it's a good situation where you get that out of your system early in the season, like they did. I didn't really think that badly. I know that a lot of people on social media are really upset and really aggravated and so forth. And how did they not show up? You're going to have games like that once in a while. And this is what I say, all the time. And I'm not just passing the buck, and I'm not making excuses for the Lions, but it's a long season, guys. It just is. And now they got 17 games. I mean, and like was said earlier in the show, I don't know if it was Avery or at the beginning of the show, or Coach, what he said, but you're not going to go 16-1. So, they got it out of their system. They didn't play well. They ran into a juggernaut. Lamar is on his way up. He's hitting his stride, as is Mahomes right now. And they just ran into a good football team at home at their place. Detroit has probably been playing a little bit over their heads and for the last few weeks. And, it goes right back to the old saying, you're never really as good as you think you are when things are going well. And you're never really as bad as you think you are when things are not going well. And that term really applies to this football team right now. They're still obviously in good shape with the division. Of course, Minnesota beating San Francisco was unexpected. They might get back into the mix a little bit more, which is going to change things up in the North. I think Minnesota will probably be there close at the end, possibly. Green Bay has had some faltering. So, and then Chicago goes ahead and wins with the kid from Shepherd State, the quarterback, and beat the Raiders. So, the division is still kind of up for grabs. I still like Detroit to win the division. I think that, with Minnesota, with that victory, will make a push. But I still like Detroit to win the division. And what I was saying earlier on, I said I think they're a 12-win team this year. And that's 5 losses. That's still a decent amount of losses, and you're still gonna put you in good position. So I think they regroup well after this. I think it resets things, it humbleizes the guys, brings them back to a good work ethic, and they get ready for the next week. I would rather take, I'll put this on the floor. Would you rather lose to Baltimore 23-21 on a last-second Tucker field goal, or would you rather lose, 38-6? I mean, so I don't know. I think I'd rather take the 38-6. That's just me. I'd rather just get it out of your system. Losing those close ones can take a lot out of you, as the Lions discovered, last year. Those were heartbreaking losses that the team never really recovered from. They finished well, but those heartbreakers are tough. When you just go out and get your ass kicked, it resets you. There's something about it. And I would rather take a loss like this than a nail biter that Tucker would have kicked a field goal with 3 seconds left. So that's my standpoint. I'll put that on the floor to you guys of what kind of loss you would rather have if you had to have one.
Yeah, I understand that because I was more upset with the Seattle loss than I was the Baltimore loss. To be honest, with you. I was more upset with the overtime loss.
So was I.
How we lost that game than I was. Because Sunday you just like, okay, we just getting our ass whooped. So sometimes you just got to take one. All right, Joe. You're the last person to really speak on this, man. Like, what was one of the biggest things that stood out to you on the game on Sunday?
Well, it's kind of like what Mark said. Me and Walt were actually having this conversation earlier. He knows about it. But like, here's the thing. I don't think the Lions are as bad as they played on Sunday. That's obvious. I was more concerned with the schematics. I know, Kurt, you mentioned the schematics of how they were playing. I mean, if you go watch the All-22, they were getting beat apart by Lamar Jackson. And the one player that you cannot give that open seams, like the open shots down the field, is Lamar Jackson. Like, you wouldn't give open shots to Patrick Mahomes. But for some reason, Aaron Glenn was giving he did it with Geno Smith, and he did it again with Lamar Jackson. And Lamar Jackson is way better than Geno Smith. But ultimately, like Mark said, you're going to have these games during the course of a season. I mean, you don't want to have them, but you're just going to have them. There's going to be, and we all played sports on this stream. Sometimes you just don't come with your A game. And then sometimes you come with your D- game and you get your ass kicked. So that's exactly what happened with the Lions, because none of them played good. I mean, you've seen St. Brown dropping passes. You've seen Sewell taking penalties. Like, that's so uncharacteristic of those players. So it's for them to make those mistakes, that just tells you exactly what that game was all about.
Yeah. Thanks. And it's so early in this season. We're at game 7. I'm like, everyone's like, people on social media are like, oh my God, they just got whooped like that. Sometimes you need to get your ass embarrassed. Just, I mean, sometimes sometimes You acting up in the store, your mama, you showing you behind you. Sometimes your mom will tell you behind up. Make sure you put you back in line. So hey, sometimes you gotta keep. Yeah. Sometimes, yeah. I think the Ravens put their act right on us. And shout out to my in-laws over in Baltimore, man. And they ain't been too hard on me, but it is what it is. Some news came out today, and here's one thing, is because now we can kind of turn the page on the game, but some news came out today that it kind of was, and it's still kind of a piece of the puzzle kind of missing on it. I want to get you guys' opinion on it. Marvin Jones actually said today on his social media that he was stepping away from football, stepping away from the Lions, and to deal with a personal matter with his family. And I'm interested to hear what you guys think about that. And being a former player, Mark, what do you think about Marvin Jones stepping away? And then the narrative was the Lions released him automatically, but if you kind of read into it, they mutually agreed to part ways. It wasn't what the national narrative is, but just having a player like that step away for personal reasons. Have you ever experienced that as a player?
Yeah. I've seen guys go ahead and Keith Dorney did it when I was coming into the league. He just decided to retire. 2 or 3 days into training camp, and but he had already put in a career. I did the main event with Mike and Russell, and we talked about guys walking away, guys like Chris Borland from the 49ers who led the team in tackles, and we've been on this subject before, and I'm one of the people in the NFLPA that is trying to keep the game safer. We're doing a lot of things now, trying to get the artificial turf out of the game. Obviously, the rules have made it a little bit safer without turning it too crazy in favor of safety and a little less, interesting. But yeah, I've seen it before with players that just kind of retire early. And one of the things that we were saying, even on that show, is the same exact subject that we're talking about right now, is that if you get your 2 or 3 years into this league and maybe get your pension or 4 years, and this is what I've said before, it's all looks fine and dandy from the outside looking in. Oh, geez, you're an NFL player. You get to do, that for a living and so forth. When you're involved in that and you're doing it every day, and I've been in that position before, dealing with, and I'm saying this in a complimentary way, dealing with, Coach Campbell on a daily basis is not an easy thing. Dealing with Coach Glenn on a daily basis is not easy. It's very difficult. Dealing with Coach Johnson. I mean, these are, and the game has gotten tougher. The seasons have gotten longer. The schedule has gotten crazier. It's harder on your bodies trying to recover after a Sunday game and playing on Thursday night. The NFL and being there and continuing after you already have some time in, and maybe you have your pension, is becoming easier and easier to walk away from. Now, I know the money is very good. I understand that, and I get that. But sometimes these guys, if they have 2 or 3 years in the league, or 40, and they're lined up for their pension, man, they think about, what it takes to do it. And we see it from the outside looking in. I've been on, in that locker room and heard it and listened to it and saw what the guys go through and how the coaches push you so friggin' hard. And the competition to win is the bar's been elevated every year. It's just not easy. And that's why guys are doing this, and they can still call themselves former NFL player, and they get a job in broadcasting. The NFL, the career that you have in the NFL helps you do things like sell insurance, like and get a job in radio, get a job on television, and you can still continue to be close to the game, get a job in coaching, but to do it physically, every day when you get to be 27, 28, 29 years old is not the greatest thing, and it's not all that it's written up to be. I can remember days during training camp sometimes and saying to myself, man, I kind of wish I had a desk job, and just have a couple of days to sit behind a desk. And everybody who has a desk job says, man, I wish I could play in the NFL and get a paycheck for that. Yeah. So it's not all that it's cracked up to be. To answer your question, Curtis, to try to figure it out, it's not always that great. And that's the way I kind of look at it. And everybody's their own individual. Some guys want to play football until they're 40 years old. And some guys want to play a few years and get the hell out. And if you're healthy and you don't have CTE and you're decent and you want to get out, and you can still get out healthy, that's what you want to do. So, that's something we don't think about on shows like this, is that, want and need to maybe play 3 or 4 years and get out. And it sucks. And we talk about football and we build it up and how great it is. But I do work for the NFL Players Association, and I'm very close with them. And I see what guys go through when they get done playing this game. And I know this is not the show really for that, because we're here to talk about the good things about, football and how great it is. But, you ask me, and it's, I see what some of the guys go through. And when I see some of the guys, when we're, go to some of these meetings, either I feel really good when I leave these meetings because I'm still healthy and I feel bad for them, or I feel that, holy smokes, I hope this doesn't happen to me, and I end up like that. And it sucks, but that's the real reality narrative of, what you're talking about and the question that you asked. And that's the reality of it, that it's not that great all the time.
Right. I mean, looking at and when Marvin Jones came back to the Lions, and we're looking at him when he came back, it was a tell that his family wasn't with him. If you look at when Marvin Jones was here the first time, his family was here. They were here throughout the season. I kind of felt that it wasn't going to be a long, it was only a 1-year deal. And I was wondering if it was going to be a long thing where he was going to be around for a while. You saw his role really was diminished. And I just think that the family issue kind of just sped the narrative up where he can go ahead and move on from the Lions. What did you think of when you heard that news that Marvin Jones was going to be stepping away from the game and the Lions releasing him as a mutual part ways?
Well, I think that sometimes, that I kind of get, I don't know if Walt, you want to answer that?
Yeah, I was asking Walt that.
Go ahead, Walt.
I was going to just say initially that I agree with Mark 100%. Like, I'm one of those fans that's 100% player, not just in football, in basketball, baseball, hockey. I understand that these dudes and these women, for that matter, in all sports, put their bodies on the line. They're not just here for our entertainment. They have lives outside of their sport. And it was reported that Marvin, even before Marvin came back, Marvin had some family issues going on with him and his wife, child also. And Marvin's a very talented guy outside of football, very bright, very intellectual guy. And also, I think when it comes to a lot of these athletes, when you lose it, you lose it. When he was in Jacksonville, he still looked like a very productive player. Not very productive, but he was very productive in pretty much what Trevor Lawrence needed. This is a guy that didn't play a few years. He also played 11 years. 6 years total here. 3 years in Cincinnati, I believe. Yeah. And was 2 years in Jacksonville, something like that. So Marvin's played a lot of football. Marvin's been very productive. He was very productive in Cincinnati before he came here initially. He was very productive for us and Matthew Stafford. And I think it's a very class act by the Lions organization.
Right.
When I first heard about it, a lot of people just initially spread rumors, it was disrespectful. They released him. He was terrible. He was garbage and this and that. And I just wish fans would stop jumping the gun on a lot of this stuff. I had a feeling it was going to eventually come. A lot of people thought once Jameson came back, he was going to get released. I don't think this had anything to do with Jameson at all. This was something between grown men, understanding grown men had issues going on at home outside of, football. Football isn't everything.
Right.
And when people have issues, family issues, health issues, and they've been very good to your organization, class organizations handle things the right way. Right. And I think the way they handle things with Marvin is a testament to this organization.
Right. And I get it, man. Like, if you look at it, like I say, I thought it was telling that when his family didn't come, it was a telling sign that I was like, I didn't like that. Where I was like, because I know how he is with his family. You saw him the first time, his kids his wife were always at the forefront, and then with them not, being here, I was like, I don't know how that's going to work. And in the military, and we have that. You go places, and you have to go to deployments and stuff like that. You're away from your family, and that how tough that is. So Avery, talk to me about what your thought process was when you heard the news about Marvin Jones. Oh, muted.
Mike, your mic.
It's always gonna happen to me. I don't know what's going on. I do it to myself. I just think that heart goes out to him, and I hope he sticks with God throughout the process with the family. Being separated from family, something I endured myself. Being deployed last year, and I wouldn't wish that on nobody. No matter how successful you are, no matter how much money's coming in, or how everybody is healthy and everything. You always want to be with your family. You always want to be connected with your moral compass. And my heart goes out to him and his family, and I hope he solves his problems. But initially, I was like any other fan saying any other thing. And obviously, he made a heartfelt message to the team, Sheila Ford Hamp and the Ford family, and the coaches, and it's much bigger than football. And I'm very happy that he is going to seek peace.
Yeah, definitely. Because Avery, I can tell you, being in the military, being deployed, man, missing birthdays, holidays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, all those things take a toll, and it's definitely a thing where. And I can look at him and I can tell that his family is going to be most important to him. So he made that decision. I think it was the right one. Neil, talk to me, brother, about Marvin and what you thought.
When it first happened, the football fan me was like, he ain't been doing nothing. But then when I sit back and think of it as a man, there was obviously something going on with him. That's why his production was down. It was taking a toll on him. So I wish him and his family the best of luck, man. You'll always be a Detroit Lion. You spent most of your career here, so I respect you.
Okay, all right. And last but not least, man, I don't know why I keep doing this, man. Joe, you're going to be first next up. The next time we talk to Joe.
Totally fine, man.
Joe.
No, but I've had the fortune of being around like athletes, and like Mark said, like some go away because of personal reasons. Some go away because they don't want the game to leave them before they leave the game. That was Nick Lidstrom's quote, the whole, when he was at Red Wing. But the one thing, with Mark Jones, if we remember right, I think he had a kid that passed away.
Mm-hmm.
So look, everyone that's been in the military, complete respect for him, because you are just everyone who's ever fought the military, like you deserve beers for life. Like
absolutely.
No question that
beers for life.
because football is football. You're getting paid pretty good to do that, but military is different. But for football, like some of these guys, especially baseball players, they have family that's away, and I don't know how big people are into their families, but like it starts to wear on you after a while. Like I was talking to a guy, he's a hockey player, and half his family's in Russia. And with the Russia-Ukraine war, he's like all scared and he can't play the game the right way. So that's some of the things that we don't think about as fans of the game. We think about like, oh, just go out there and produce, dude. Just go out there and produce 100%. But here's the thing: every one of these players has something that they're dealing with that we don't even know about. So when I see, that's why I'm not really that hard on these players. Like I don't know what's going through their minds at sometimes. I don't know what they're dealing with, but with Marvin Jones, like it's obviously a serious enough issue to step away from the game. And he left a classy message with the Lions, and it was classy the way the Lions did it. And just it sucks because Marvin Jones is a great guy. I don't know if anybody's ever met him, but he's probably one of the best players I've ever met in my entire life. So.
Yeah, he's always been down to earth. One of those guys, he's always willing to talk to fans. He's always take pictures, and he's one of those guys. He's a generally good dude. All right, so we got to turn a page, man. It's time to talk about the rest of the season because, we had Minnesota win a game yesterday, so they're 2 games back in the division. But what is your outlook for Monday Night Football coming up in Ford Field, man? We got to talk about what's going on. Coach Darcy, what you got, man?
You're muted too.
You're muted too.
Come on, bro.
Unmute yourself, Darcy.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be down there for Monday Night Football. I can't wait for it. I hope some of you guys come down. I'm gonna have a meeting with Jacoby's again. but they're going through renovations on their second floor. I'm fired up for this. I'm stoked. It's my son's 22nd birthday on Halloween, so I invited him. I said, okay, I'm going to pay your cell phone bill, and I'm going to take you to the game. And we're going to – and he's a Houston Texans fan. He's a J.J. Watt fan. Oh, I know. But I'm so fired up for this game. Every once in a while, there's a stinker. And John Harbaugh was watching Stephen A. Smith, and he was like, okay, that's pretty cute. That's pretty cute. I'm going to show you what we're going to do. And they did that to Jim Caldwell, too. The last time we were in Baltimore, they up-tempoed us and beat us. Stephen Tulloch even said that. They up-tempoed us and beat us fair and square. And you know what they did? They took the ball first. They didn't care. That's what their game plan was, to kick our ass and go right down our throats, hold. They held every receiver. They held all our defensive linemen. And if you're not getting calls, you're not cheating, right? So if they're not going to call it, keep doing it. Aaron Glenn should have did the same freaking thing. Let's hold the guys. So let's play man on man instead of that freaking awful zone, and try to, if they don't call it, then do it. So I'm fired up for. I can't see us losing until about Dallas. I hate Dallas fans, but I don't see us. I don't see us really losing until Dallas. But I'm going to jump back out, and I want to get my take there, and I'm going to produce. Thank you guys for everybody that comes on the show. Thank you, Kurt, for hosting the show, and Walt and Avery and Neil and my good old buddy Mark Schmidt. I can't wait to see you again. And Joe, we sat side by side against Carolina, and it isn't factual. That game was not factual. It's like we've had an easy cupcake schedule so far. So you guys talk about it, and I'll produce. Remember, guys, this is a live interactive show. You're not coming in with your comments. So we appreciate your comments. Thank you, sir.
There we go. Yeah, the zone was definitely soft. Yeah. All right. So, Joe, talk to me, man. Let's talk about the game coming up, Monday Night Football versus those Las Vegas Raiders. What is your outlook for this game, my man?
Okay, so my outlook for this game is, I don't know, obviously everyone's played sports here, I can imagine, but like if you get your ass kicked in a game, the one thing that you really want to do is go out the next week and kick someone else's ass. And with the Raiders coming in, I think it's one of the most dysfunctional franchises right now in pro sports, because Josh McDaniels might be like Pet Man Patricia, just with better hair and skinnier. Look, you see how Devontae Adams is acting. Like Devontae Adams wants to beat his, he wants to leave. But the Raiders are the perfect team to come in after, because they are a team that they have talent and they can beat you. They have guys like Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams, Max Crosby. They have good players, but the reality of the situation is, look who their coach is, and the Lions are coming off a embarrassing loss. And Dan Campbell in the press conference literally took it to heart, said it's on me, and he said it today on 97 on the ticket too. He's like, this is all on me. So it's Dan Campbell's taking it on himself. And the last time he did that, it was against, I think it was the Carolina game, and they came out against Green Bay and did pretty well. And every time that they get blown out, the next couple games, they go on a little bit of a run. So that's what you're hoping right here. Right.
I agree with that wholeheartedly, my man. I think they're gonna have some how dare you embarrass me like that practices this week. Yep. They're gonna have that.
Anybody who's played football hates those practices.
Yeah, those practices are rough.
Any sport you get those practices, man. You just wanna crawl in the hole, like, leave me alone, bro.
Those practices are hard and long. you have to get those embarrassing losses.
Never let it happen again, though.
Yeah, it's one of those things. So, Avery, what do you think that the Lions will do or can do to improve their performance versus the Raiders?
Well, first of all, I think the best thing they can do is get off the bus. I think just get off the bus show up for the game, get
Yeah.
dressed.
Yeah.
But on a serious note, the Raiders are 3-4. They come out the AFC West. They're not predicted to win. They're not really their seasons. I mean, their season's tanking right now. They offered up 161 this season in points allowed, so they ranked 23rd. And I think that they're the 100. They've only scored like 112 points, so they're not scoring that much, and they're getting scored on a lot. So this is a perfect get right game for them, the Lions, because we still rank 7th in scoring. We are still completing 70% of our third downs, which is an excellent proponent against a team like this. I think the way forward is beat the teams that you're expected to beat. Those teams, and I think we can beat Dallas as well. Beat who you're expected to beat, and you got to beat up on some folks. I understand that. I get that wholeheartedly. But with those teams that are upper echelon teams in your schedule, upper echelon teams, you could say Dallas is an upper echelon team. You have to show up against those teams because you're not going to have a cupcake schedule next year. Next year, you're going to probably play all the first-ranked division teams, and it's going to be equal footing. So you have to improve on this 5-2 record, get to 6-2, and then show that you have the 13th ranked defense. It was just in the top 10 last week. Show that you weren't what you put on tape last week.
Right.
Show that you weren't a soft pass happy attack. I mean, they didn't even come out in their own domain. They had no physicality about them. It was almost like they came out flat. It's almost like the league called and said, you know what, we gotta slow you guys down. Just take it off a notch. From an offensive standpoint, Ben Johnson got to be better. You're gonna be a head coach soon. Got to be better. Aaron Glenn, I love Aaron Glenn to death. Got to be better. Guys who are leaders on this team, Alex Anzalone, like people we've apologized for. Jared Goff, we apologized. You got to be better. So that's what we got to do.
Yeah, definitely. All right, my man, Neil. How do the Lions turn? Like you said, how do they? What is the? I guess one thing you think they need to do against the Raiders on Monday Night Football?
It started up from with stopping the run and getting pressure on the quarterback. I mean, we got to contain the inside, and we got to have our defensive end crash in. We need to get to the quarterback. We need sacks. The secondary needs to step up. We need to get back injuries too, because Will Harris on the field is a liability every time you get on the field. So that's what I think we're going to need to do on defense. On offense, it starts with the run game, because the run game opened up the play action game, which is Goff is excellent at. So it starts with the run game. We got to figure out what's going on. Give Gibbs the ball. Since Montgomery's out, quit rotating everybody. Give him touches, man. Let him eat. I think he'll produce.
All right, that's definitely. And you look at it, we get an extra day of recovery coming up before Monday Night Football. So, and then we go right into the bye after that. So I think we're gonna have some chance to get some people back for the second half of the season, like you said, Neil. All right, well, Walt, if you take a look at this game, man, what are you expecting from the Lions against the Raiders?
They're better than the Raiders. Very better than the Raiders, and I expect them to dominate the Raiders. I would be very worried if they lost this game, or if this game was too close. I would be worried. I would be more worried after that type of game against this Raider team than I am losing to the Baltimore Ravens. Because as I mentioned before, I just view, and I agree with what Mark said earlier. I look at this team as they're not as good as the team that killed Carolina, and they're not as bad as the team that got demolished by Baltimore. They're somewhere right now, roster-wise, talent-wise, right in the middle. And I think people kind of, not necessarily the team, but I think fans around there started really drinking the Kool-Aid a little too much and got the big head and got overinflated off of the teams that they were beating. And I'm going to make a boxing reference. For those people out there that follow boxing, for future Hall of Fame boxer Canelo Alvarez, prior to him losing a very humbling fight to Floyd Mayweather, he was knocking everybody out. He was stopping everybody. And once he ran into Floyd Mayweather, he got schooled, he got educated, and he got humbled. And Canelo Alvarez himself said that after the fight, that was a very humbling experience. I had to go back to the drawing board. I knew that if I was good where I was at, but if I wanted to reach that next level, there was stuff that I had to add to my repertoire. I had to diversify my skill set. He knew he had to get better. And I think in life, not just sports, but in life, you can either take a really bad loss to a superior opponent and say, you know what, I'm fine. I don't need to fix anything. That's just them. Or you can say, you know what, that's where I want to get to. That's the type of organization we want to get to. We want to eventually be like or exceed that organization, and you want to be better. And I think this team under Dan Campbell, Aaron Glenn, Brad Holmes, they're more of the prior. They're the team that's going to look at it and say, you know what? We have flaws. We're going to acknowledge those flaws. We're going to fix them, and we're going to move forward. And I make another comparison because you look at the Ravens. I understand the Ravens, they're up and down. Some games, some Sundays, they look like world beaters. Some Sundays, they play down to the level of competition, whether it's the Colts or other teams they may lose to. I think some of that has to do, a lot of it has to do with the fact that they play in a tough conference. They play in a tough division. And if you look at the playoffs in general, on a year-to-year basis, going back 20, 30 years, even to now, usually when you see a 13-win team lose to a 9-7 team, 12-win, 13-win team, lose to an 8-8 team, 10-win team. Why is that? And I think the most convenient thing to lean on is, well, you know, there's a bye week. The team that had the bye got lazy, got comfortable or whatever, lost momentum. I don't necessarily think it's that. And I'm a person that's really big on competition. A lot of times, that 9-7 team may be better than that 12-win team. That 9-win team may have played a tougher schedule. That 9-win team may be more battle tested. They may be more proven. We've seen for years with the New England Patriots, you could pencil the Patriots in for what, 5 wins at least within their division alone against the Buffalo Bills, who weren't good for a long time, the Miami Dolphins, who weren't good for a long time, and the Jets, who have never been good outside of the Mark Sanchez Jets. Same thing for the Chiefs. Even though the Chiefs are a really good team, they're a great team, but they beef up off some bad wins in that division. And I'm really big on competition. This team, whether we want to admit it or not, because a lot of people said, well, you know, the NFC South is nothing. We laughed at the NFC South prior to the season, but now that we beat up on the NFC South, people want to credit those wins. You can't have it both ways.
Right.
And like I said, I just believe that sometimes, not even really sometimes, I'm a firm believer in competition. Whether you're 9-7 or you're a 12-win team, a 13-win team, how did you get those wins? What type of competition did you actually get them against? Because, like I said, sometimes that 9-7 team, they're more battle tested than you. They had more competition, better competition than you. And I think that's a big reason why you see a lot of those wild card upsets or those divisional round upsets. So I just want fans to understand that, you know, you don't want to get comfortable with, okay, well, we lost to the Ravens, but what does that matter? We'll be okay. We don't play anybody good the rest of the season. That's not the type of winner. That's not a winner mentality.
No, it's not. It's not. It's not at all. You want to demolish the rest of the schedule. All right, Mark. You've been in these locker rooms. How would you approach this next game coming up versus the Raiders?
Well, Kurt, I saw the Raiders. First of all, Walt, that's a great point which you bring up with Canal Alvarez and Floyd Mayweather. That's a really good analogy for where the Lions are at after a loss like this. And I just wanted to say that. Kurt, I saw the Raiders in person earlier this year against Buffalo. And they looked horrible. They didn't play well at all. And they had the lead in that game 7-0. I think Buffalo ended up winning 38-10 or something like that. But what Buffalo did is they rushed Jimmy Garoppolo really well, and they got pressure on the quarterback. As Neil said earlier, that's what they need to do, and that's what they need to do. Pressure on the quarterback. I'm a firm believer. I think that Josh McDaniels was a wonderful and is a wonderful coordinator. I don't think he's a good head coach. similar to a Matt Patricia with the defensive coordinator with the Patriots, was not a good head coach with the Lions. One of the things I have a problem with in this league is that all these coordinators who get to a certain level all get offers, except Eric Bieniemy, to become head coaches. And, that they think that translates, and it just doesn't. I played under Coach Wayne Fonts, who was a much better head coach than I thought that he was a defensive backs coach and a coordinator. So it depends on the individual at that point. There's only 32 of them in the world. And, I think that Detroit needs to do what Buffalo did, pressure the quarterback, throw a few blitzes at them. They're not a real talented group. I think that they have to chip off. When I say chip, meaning use the running backs with Crosby. He's a real instigator on defense. They're going to have to chip him with a running back from the left tackle or the right tackle, depending where he's lining up. But they have 2 or 3 good players, maybe 4 good players, but that's really it. They're not a talented group. And it's a game, like it was said earlier, I think by Avery said, it's a game that we should win. And it's the kind of game that you want after a big loss. This is a kind of team that you want to play after a big loss like they had in Baltimore, is a Raider team that's a little disgruntled, a little disheveled. And I don't know if I would put them in the category of one of the worst organizations in sports, but they are close to that. I would say that they're close to that. So I think that it's a very winnable game, and I think that's the type of opponent that you want after this devastating loss in Baltimore. And I think that they'll prevail. I think they'll play well. But every time that you think it's going to be a blowout or or anytime, I was expecting Buffalo to beat New England badly last weekend. What happens? Mac Jones has a phenomenal game, and the Patriots end up winning outright. I mean, the NFL is so hard to predict. And I would, unlike I think what Avery said earlier, I think that that's a game that they should win handily. I would take a 23-20 victory as long as you win. That's all that matters to me as far as this game on Sunday, because the only thing you can do here is have something bad happen. You're supposed to beat the Raiders. You're right, Curtis. That's the way you're supposed to. So that nothing good can happen here. Just go out and win 23-20. I'll take it. Good enough. It's a win. Let's move on.
And what's crazy to me, and just in my opinion, is that Mark Davis built a winning franchise in Las Vegas. And we aren't talking about the Raiders. We're talking about the Aces. He built a winning franchise.
Oh yeah,
back-to-back WNBA. I mean, that team's well constructed.
Yeah,
great Hall of Fame head coach.
That's because he stayed out of the way.
I mean,
great point.
He built a championship basketball team, but can't build a championship football team to save his life. I don't know what's going on with that. All right, we had a question about a trade, and I was going to get to that. That's my really looking at coming up on that. We're getting that time. What do the Lions need to do before the trade deadline's coming up in about a week? So I'm going to go to my man Walt first. What do the Lions need to do at the trade deadline?
For me, it all comes down to who's still available. Patrick Surtain is a guy that we've heard rumors about. Nothing really surfaced. We've heard that the Denver Broncos have came out and said that he's not available. But as we know, anybody can come call him with the right offer, and anybody can become available. Aside from him, I've never really been behind the whole Max Crosby thing. They came out and said they're not moving him. I think Brian Burns is a guy who has a contract that's up. He's feasible. But aside from that, I think it all comes down to who's available. Me personally, I would love to see a corner. I've been waiting to see a really good corner come here for a very long time. This team just historically doesn't have a good reputation with corners. You can go back to Brian Westbrook, Kevin Abrams, Terry Fair, who turned out to be more of just a kick returner. We just don't have a really good history of drafting corners. We've signed some who didn't really work out. Dre Bly was probably the best cornerback signing we ever had.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, so personally, I would love to see a cornerback or another edge rusher. I think we really need that pressure up front. Aiden can only do so much. It's getting to a point now where fans are losing their minds. They're calling Aiden a bust, saying Aiden can't do this, Aiden can't do that. Aiden isn't Nick Bosa. Aiden isn't this guy. Aiden isn't Myles Garrett. At the end of the day, you can only do what you can do, especially as a defensive end, considering what you have, yourself surrounded by. And I think that defensive line, considering what we went up against the first few weeks of the season, even the Atlanta Falcons have a good offensive line, running the ball wise, pass blocking wise, they're not good at all. There's been some offensive lines that we've shined against. We've gotten a lot of pressures, but the pressures aren't really what wins. You want to get the sacks, and we haven't really been able to get home that much. I think that was a big reason why we lost to the Ravens. Everyone talks about how bad the secondary was and Aaron Glenn's play calling. We knew what those corners were going into the game. Jacobs didn't play. Mosley wasn't there. We were down to our third and fourth string corners, and I really don't think you want those guys bumping running Odell Beckham Jr., Zay Flowers, and Rashad Bateman. So I believe in that situation, Glenn did what he could. Could he have brought those guys up a little bit more? I don't think that would have made much of a difference because Lamar has the ability to go up top, and then the game could have really gotten out of hand. So, like I said, I would love to see a corner. I would love to see an edge rusher. Either one of those, maybe even both, but
Okay. All right. So, and there's some, backdoor rumor mills going around about some defensive ends and some, as a particular, some corners going around out there. All right. So, Joe, my man, what you got, man? What are your moves for the Lions at the trade deadline?
So it just so happened I was actually talking to people before I was coming on here. I know that I'm pretty sure that Brett Holmes is going to make a move at the deadline. Now, how extensive he makes it, that's going to be the question. But I'm going to turn your focus to a couple players that I want you to keep in mind because there's players that are on the trade block right now that could be had for less than like what you would classify as a good return. So you got Dante Jackson in Carolina, who could be a solid corner to come in here from Carolina. You got Adoree Jackson from New York. They're going to be there. What you want to look for, I think a lot of fans do this all the time. And I think it's the stupidest thing in the world is they look at like a guy like Max Crosby and they're like, that's the guy I want. Well, newsflash, guys, there are 31 other teams that want a Max Crosby, okay? 31 other teams. So he's not available. Even though the Raiders are brain dead, it doesn't matter. They got to keep him because he's part of their core. But you look for expired contracts. So I look at Chase Young. I look at Brian Burns in Carolina, who Carolina needs a first-round pick because if you remember right, in that DJ Moore trade where they traded up for Bryce Young, they gave up a first-round pick to move up. So they're going to look for a first-round pick. And, I talk to people that are in the industry. One of the things they say is, like, if the Lions are really, really good, they're probably going to have a below top 25 pick. So it's going to be classified as a second-round pick. That's what they classify it as. So you're looking for guys that are cheap. So you're looking for a guy like Chase Young, who's on an expiring deal that you might be able to get for maybe a third round, maybe a second round. A Dante Jackson. People put Patrick Surtain up there. I don't think that's attainable, but, you never know with Denver and what they want to do. But Dante Jackson, Brian Burns probably could be had. Chase Young. So those are the guys I'm looking at predominantly. So.
Right. Yeah, and the Surtain's on still on that rookie deal, so sometimes you don't want to give off players on that rookie deal. All right, what you got, Avery? What's your moves for the Lions at the trade deadline?
None.
Okay.
I don't think he has.
You're not the first person I heard say this. So
I just feel like the culture of this team is all about player development. My guys. I do anything for my guys. And, I feel like they're definitely like one or two dogs away. But when I look at these expiring contracts and I think about paying Goff and I think about extending all these people, and Sewell's going to be a person you want to extend, and he's going to come up on a 5th-year option next year. And all these people, all the where the money is, even though you have $63 million in cap, how does the money line up when you get a premier pass rusher? How does the money line up when you get a premier individual that you have to pay? So you have to take an upper echelon guy like a Patrick Surtain, and you have to wait 2 years till the contract expires. That's probably the most feasible move. But guess what? Patrick Surtain is not going to be touched by the Denver Lions. They're not even moving. He's a future plan for that team because he is a quality, not quality, he is a shutdown corner. So I think a lot of this is much to do about nothing, not y'all, just the fans. I think from a fan perspective, they think this is Madden, where they can just trade for a guy. Brad Holmes making a move with his yellow teeth. Brad Holmes just making a move, calling up like this is draft day. This is not that. I think this team really believes in who they drafted, and they're going to give them every opportunity to prove themselves right.
Right. All right. What you got, Mr. Coach Darcy?
So you look at Howie there at the Eagles. He's always making moves.
Yep.
Championship teams make moves at the deadline. What about Derrick Henry? I know he's long in the tooth, but he's coming. His contract is up at the end of the year. Why not? That's our biggest bugaboo right now. And I love Craig Reynolds, and I'm friends with Eric, and he's in our chat. We just love. He looks like mini Barry Sanders. I'm going off topic here, but I do believe we need more depth at that running back position, because this is the way we are built. Even Dan Campbell said we are built this way. We're built to run the ball. Jared Goff is the best in play action in the league. We need that guy that they respect. I don't think they respect Gibbs. He's not, he's not Montgomery. He's not Montgomery.
Well, he's young.
I know, but guys, like, I'd rather have Mark Schmidt in there.
Well, you know what, Darcy? I will say this, because I think another thing that people really aren't talking enough about is the lack of being able to be dynamic within this passing game as well. I don't know how much longer people really want to wait on Jameson Williams. Even if you decide to go the receiver route, you do have a guy like Tyler Boyd with Cincinnati. Tyler Boyd is still relatively young. He's got some young legs. He can get out there. He can stretch the field. I think he will be an upgrade as well, because if you look at it right now, with Marvin being gone, Jameson's future, I don't want to necessarily say Jameson's future is up in the air, but Jameson isn't really giving us much right now. Josh Reynolds has been our second best receiver. And Josh can only do what Josh can do. And Myra St. Brown is a possession receiver. I still think we need to be more dynamic also offensively. Because I think when you play against teams that understand Detroit isn't dynamic, Detroit is not necessarily 3 yards in the cloud of dust, but we're very paper cut up top, if you give us up top. And if you want to compete with the Philadelphia Eagles, who have the ability to drop 35, 40 points on you, with guys like A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert, and you got a quarterback that's dynamic and multifaceted, and Jalen Hurts. You look at the San Francisco 49ers. Even though the 49ers are struggling right now, they've got some injuries. When that team is healthy, that team has the ability to go up top and bury you offensively. So I just think that if we're going to really compete with the big boys, we have to understand it's not just about, our guys and drafting everybody and growing everybody like it's a baseball farm system. Like you have to get some outsiders. I think football fans are very tribal, and we want our guys, we like our guys. We get our guys, we feel like nobody else belongs except our guys. That doesn't work that way in football. The Eagles know, they understand that. The Chiefs know and understand that. And the 49ers, of course, they know and they understand that. And another guy I think we have the ability to go after and get, going back to the New York Giants, not necessarily Dory Jackson, but I think Leonard Williams is another guy who's an unrestricted free agent. He can help us on the inside. He can play some 2-tech, some 3-tech. He can line up at some 4-tech as well. He's a guy that can really push the pocket. He would really help us.
Yeah, you know what the thing about it, Walt just brought up a good point, and I think a lot of people need to realize that really quick is, this is a league that's becoming more active at the trade deadline than it's ever been, and the good teams are going to be more active at the trade deadline. You see Howie Roseman in Philly, he's always swinging deals. He's always doing that, and I know like people, they look at the LA Rams and they go less need, F the picks, but the reality of the situation is, they don't win that Super Bowl without Jalen Ramsey that they gave up draft capital for. And they don't win that Super Bowl without Von Miller. So what people got to understand is, as much as you want your young guys to grow and you want to draft and develop, here's the thing. You can get better quicker just by making a couple smooth moves. It doesn't have to be seismic. It doesn't have to be a move that like everyone in the ESPN world is like, oh my God, what a trade. It just has to be the right fit for you. You know, I remember Ken Holland, the Red Wings general manager, always saying he was never looking for a guy that would transcend the roster because that would usually break up the roster construction. He was always looking for a guy that would come into that situation, fit into the culture, fit into the line structure, and that's how he built those championship teams. That's what you have to do. And you look at guys like Les Snead, you look at Howie Roseman, that's exactly what they do. And you know, you look at these guys like the Buffalo Bills, right? They're not active enough at the trade deadline. They're not going and getting that. You know, they last year Buffalo went and got Von Miller, which was a good move, but it didn't work out as much as they wanted to. But even Buffalo realized, hey, to get to that next level, we got to get that next big player it's at the trade deadline.
Yeah, I think one of the I think Devontae Adams. People have brought his name up. I don't know how he's available contract wise, but people are saying that he is. I know he's not happy with the Raiders right now, but they're saying that he's going. You know, he may end up somewhere else next week. So, I mean, that one kind of surprises me. Would the Lions have an interest in him? I don't know if they can structure a contract. I don't know that, but I think one of the players that was mentioned before by one of you guys or both of you guys was Chase Young from Washington. I think that's the name that jumps out at me as far as what maybe Detroit should have an interest in. I know what you guys are saying about the culture and what Avery's saying here, that you go with your guys and you don't like to always go over top of your guys when you've got time and money invested in them and effort invested in them, and I understand that. And there is some credibility to that, and it does make sense, especially for the players that are presently with this team. They're not going to just bring some guy in and stick him over my head, and then I'm here and I'm working hard and, I'm going to have some off games, but, my coaches believe in me and they're not going to just bring some hotshot free agent in and put him over me. That sends a message to your team. So I agree with Avery on that note. At the same time, like it was brought up by Joe, Buffalo went after, Von Miller, and he got hurt. He got hurt against Detroit actually last year, and it hasn't worked out that well. But that's bringing a marquee guy in. So I think you got to have a happy medium. You got to still be willing to go with your guys. But if there's somebody that becomes available that fits your mold or fits your needs, I shouldn't say mold, fits your needs for that particular part of the season, then I think you have to exercise that as much as you want to be a good guy to your present players. You have to exercise that. You have to look around. You have to be open-minded to always getting better. So I think where it needs to fall is a happy medium between, hey, we're not going over our guys' heads, but we do have a need here at defensive line. We do have a need here at cornerback. We do have a need here, possibly at wide receiver, even though we didn't expect that. So, I think what you want to have here as a fan and as a general manager and as a coach is a happy medium between the two of not going too far over your guy's head, but still be willing to sign a player that fits your needs at that particular time.
All right. Real quick, last one. Neil, what do you think they need to do at the trade deadline before we get into score predictions?
I was just gonna say the same thing as Avery said. Like,
Yeah.
you can tell if we get injured player, we don't go out and sign nobody. We just bring up somebody from the practice squad. Detroit is doing. I know other organizations go out and look for a key player to bring in, but they're doing it their way. And what's the best trade that Brad Holmes do is draft. He's not gonna give up none of his draft capital to go get somebody for a year. You feel me? They got to think about the long-term plan here. So that's all I got to say about that.
All right. So I'll start with you, Neil. The score prediction for Monday Night Football. What you got?
I think our offense get back on track. I think in our defense step up because they got embarrassed. It's going to be 14-31 Detroit.
All right. Next up, what we got? Joe, what you got? What's your score prediction for the game?
I got a score prediction of, I'll go 28-13.
28-13.
Yeah, I think the offense is going to get back in their groove, and I think the pass rush is going to get back in their groove. When you go against Jimmy Garoppolo, if it's Jimmy Garoppolo, I mean, he's not a mobile quarterback back there. And if it's Brian Hoyer, even better. I mean, I love Brian Hoyer as a Michigan State guy, but man, like he is a statue back there. So if you can get Aiden Hutchinson, you can get Josh Pascal going rushing the passer, and it seems like they play better at home too. So I go 2013.
2013. All right, my man Avery, what you got, man? Score prediction for Monday Night Football. Man, that jersey is clean, man. I'm loving that.
That is nice.
Yeah, appreciate that.
St. Brown, man. That's like
Yeah, thank you. Me and my wife got the St. Brown pack, and we got the Hutchinson pack right now. So we rocking that white jerseys. Anyway, if they can actually do something different. Aaron Glenn's my guy, but if I was to talk to Aaron Glenn, I would say play press man.
Yup. Thank God.
Over 0.
Thank God.
That's what I would do if they could somehow stop Hunter Renfrow, somehow stop Devontae Adams. I think it could be a 38-6 game. I really do, because I feel like you're not going to get nothing from that defense. That defense does have Peters. That defense does have Long Jr. They have some corners that can play different things. Obviously, Max Crosby. But Tillery is a bust. Nichols. Jenkins is probably their best guy in the middle. He's they nose tackle in the middle. And then you have Morag, a person I'm very familiar with. I wanted to draft him in the draft. But other than defense, I feel you can score. I think you have the advantage. And I think with our flea flickers and our trick plays and all those little gadget plays that make our quarterback look like a star, I think that we could actually do something. So I'm going to go 38-6.
38-6.
Crazy score, right?
Wall Steve. Yeah. Wall Steve, what you got, my man?
Yeah, I think I agree with you guys. I think this is a perfect bounce back game for Detroit, perfect matchup for Detroit. Whether it's Brian Hoyer, Jimmy Garoppolo, Jimmy G, Jimmy GQ, Jimmy G String, whatever it is, man.
Jimmy.
It's crazy too, because nobody jogs off to the tunnel more than Jimmy G, man. Like has this dude played an entire game this season?
No.
Oh.
Okay. So whether it's Jimmy Garoppolo or it's Brian Hoyer, I don't see how they really move the ball on us at all. I think this is a game that's set up for Detroit to bounce back. Monday night game at home, an inferior opponent. We got our ass kicked by Baltimore a few days ago. I don't see how the Raiders have any chance this game. So right now I got the Raiders, not the Raiders. I got the Lions 35-9. They may manage 3 field goals. I think we hold them under 10 points.
Okay, 35-9. All right. Mark, what you got, man? What's your score?
Well, we all. I agree. We all love Brian Hoyer. We do. Michigan State guy. We do.
Yeah.
He just doesn't like. I like that guy. We all like that guy.
We all like that guy.
Yeah.
I like
Brian Hoyer, man.
How do you not like Brian Hoyer? My gosh, he's been in the league for as a backup.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, it's. I think that again, I saw the Raiders in person earlier this year. I think this game is going to be closer than what you guys are saying here now. It shouldn't be. On paper, you guys are right, but I think it's a Monday night game. I think the Raiders will play hard. I think they're Crosby had a great game on national TV a couple of weeks ago. I think they bring it as hard as they can. I don't think they'll win the game. I think the Lions will win it, but I'm looking for a Lions win 27-24. And I think it's going to be that close. And I really believe that. For some reason, I think that they're gonna bring it hard, and Detroit's gonna have their hands full. If for no other reason, because it's a possibility of being a blowout, and every time you think that in this league, it ends up being kind of almost the opposite. So that's it.
Yeah, because right now,
if that happens, fans will freak. Like if you think they
you win if they win by 3, a win's a win.
Against the Raiders, man. You know how fans can be, man.
Yeah.
I think Monday Night Football, everybody expects us to demolish the Raiders. If it turns into a 27-24, 17-14 type of game, man, people gonna freak.
Well, watch when you're going down the stretch, and there's 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and it's 24-17. Okay, there you go, guys, and then you'll see. You'll be like, oh yeah, Schmidt was right. Okay, all right.
The Lions are 8
These
favorites.
what the hell is what Kurt? What is with these receivers? They're all divas. Mark's a diva. You're a diva. You're a diva. They're all divas. Why?
Oh, come on.
What is with receivers being
No,
divas?
Jeff
they're
Chadwick
all
is
like
a
that.
diva. He's a diva.
All right. The Lions are 8-point favorites. I'll think they cover. I'm gonna say Lions 28, Raiders 7.
28-7? Wow.
Yep, 28-7. Yeah.
Wow,
So what you? All right, Darcy, you're back in the helm, my man. I hand it back over to you.
First of all, I'm going to do this because I only have 203 subscribers on YouTube. So the 16 people or 17 people, please, we have great shows every time. Always great personalities. Walter with Lions Avenue, Spirit of Detroit, Avery Giovanni, the guy that runs this show that we get 17 viewers, Joseph P. Chap, and most of all, Mark, that basically started the show with us together. And our host tonight, Curtis. Yep, he's got hats, he's got designer stuff. Follow him. Explain everybody. We're going to sign off right away here. Explain everybody. I'm not going to give my prediction until I look at the film.
Can you do that? Wait a minit, Curtis. Is he allowed to do that?
Are you allowed to look at film?
I mean,
I always do that. I always do that. I have to look at the film before I make a prediction. Otherwise,
void
it's
my
sloppy.
prediction now.
I don't want to be a
It's
sloppy.
like Bill Belichick.
Okay.
Come on.
Okay. I'll make a prediction right here. I don't think it's going to be factual because I didn't look at the film and I didn't watch Spirit of
Just
Detroit.
make the prediction.
I didn't watch Spirited. I have to watch Spirit of Detroit first before I make it.
Hey, the Lions was watching the film on the Raiders last week.
They probably was.
Yeah, Raiders at the Raiders.
They got off the bus and realized they was in Baltimore and not Vegas.
That was wrong word. It's the wrong word.
Here we go. I'm going to go 38, just like we got our fucking asses kicked. 38. 12. No, 38, 13. 38, 13. There you go. 38, 13.
Look at the film like Jim Harbaugh. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Great one.
Good job, guys. Good job.
Did everybody get their take in?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, hang on. One more time. We're going to go through everybody and promote your shit.
Come on, man.
No. We're going to go through everybody and promote your shit.
Hey, you can find me. Just go to kurtstill.com. You can find all my stuff, my YouTube links, or my links for over at Sideline Report, and all my content right there on kurtstill.com. Just like it spells kurtsteel.com.
Lions Avenue, you can find it on Facebook as well as LinkedIn.
Yeah, you can find me Spirit of Detroit podcast on YouTube, and you can find me on Facebook as well. But I'm more prevalent on YouTube, so watch my channel.
You can find me on Business Sports on YouTube.
And Facebook.
Detroit Lions News on Facebook. Detroit Lions News on Facebook.
And
all of us on Facebook. We run Facebook.
We all, huh? What'd you say?
Hard Knocks. You're an admin for Hard Knocks. And last but not least, I don't think did I get everybody? No, hang on.
The pretty diva himself.
Go ahead, Joe. Hit it, Joe.
All right. You can find me at Detroit Lions News Podcast. That's the one that you're probably watching us on. Or maybe if you're not, then you whatever. Joe Chap, Detroit on Twitter. Between the Whistles Detroit. And if you've ever listen to my podcast, it's on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcast. So go there and subscribe to Darcy's channel. Damn it! Like we gotta put a full court press on for this shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and last but not least, one of my good buddies. Thank you, NFLPA, Mark Schmidt, Temple University. You're a great player. Drafted by the Detroit Lions, played with Barry Sanders, yada, yada, yada. I got you tickets for Denver. I switched with Walter so I could be there. I gave him the tickets because I give all my tickets to the podcasters that come on. say, like, write us off in the. I'm gonna put some pictures of you and you and the show here because we all love you and thank you for coming on. And if you can come on next Wednesday with John Macaroon, also Walter's coming on. We also got Kurt coming on, and we also have Mel Gray Jr. Do you remember Mel Gray? Mel Gray?
Yeah, of course.
His son is going to be coming on next Wednesday.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. So you finish us off here, bud.
No, Mark Schmidt. You can catch me on TikTok. You can catch me on the Lions Mane on this show here. Obviously on Facebook, I'm on there, and then you can just go ahead and Google me. But I have a common name, so put Detroit Lions next to it, and brings up a bunch of information, a bunch of interviews, and a little bit of history about me, not just football, but my life. So you can do that on Google, and also Amazon. We got an Amazon page as well. So I love doing this show. Love you guys. It's great to talk to Lions football. Darcy, you're the best. Thank you so much for having me on. Really appreciate it. Look forward to next week. And go Lions.
Do your best. Let's go. Lions on 3. 1, 2, 3. Lions.
Oh my God! Victory Sunday.
The Giants look at their schedule and they go, "Oh, the Detroit Lions," and they put the big W, right?
Correct. It's folks. It's everybody that is on the screen right now that is what makes this special, because this organization has been so bad for so long. Yet here we all are on a Sunday night at 7:00, chopping it up about this football team because winning 3 in a row and getting this done for the first time since 2017, and like Mark said, having some momentum for this fan base.
When we played against the Patriots one game on Thanksgiving, I had a pretty good game too. And it was just, the atmosphere is just different. It's just, there's just, everybody's ready. You get a chance to wear the throwback uniforms. It was just fun.
I think it's a mixture of both. I think you got to have a good program, but I think the city, the way it's viewed nationally, like the people in Detroit, the business people, the money makers, the marketers, they got to market Detroit different nationally.
Oh, and there we go. Thank you, Kurt Steele.